Hello guys, we are
Writing Cats.
And today we are going to talk to you about the column, about the definition, rule and uses, some exception, and we are going to provide you some example. So let's get started.
Hi Jenny, you can tell me a little bit about column?
Sure, columns is a very important punctuation mark. We can use it to add ideas in a sentence, provide explanation, even introduce a plot. Also, we can use it to link two sentences when the second one adds details or explains something about the first.
So when we use column, it is like giving that something important is coming next, like a list or an explanation.
Exactly, if I say, there are three key things to remember, for example, study, practice, and rest, column signal refers to an about to list those important things.
That makes sense. In this way of telling, the reader can focus on what comes after the column because it is important.
Exactly, using column correctly helps the reader look clearer and more organized. So, let's move on to explore some rules about the column.
Hey. But no, don't forget the rules that you need to follow. First, use a column to start a series or a list that it is introduced by an independent clause. Use the column to introduce the effect or logical consequence of an action. Use a column before a quotation, a long quotation, that it is an independent clause. This clause should be 4 lines long. Use a column after a salutation in a business letter or in a memo. Use a column to separate the chapter and verse in a religious scripture. Use a column to separate hours from minutes when stating time. In the last one, use a column to show ratios. You want to keep learning? Well, let's move on to the uses of the columns.
As my classmate said, columns are very useful when writing. So it helps us to introduce a list. Also, it helps us to introduce a quotation. It can be used when we write the hour. For example, we separate the hour from the minutes. Also, it is used when we want to separate two independent clauses. So we put the column between those clauses to explain the first independent clause.
The uses and rules of the column are very interesting, right? So now let's look at some examples that you can apply when you are writing. For example, if you want to make a list, you can write it like this. You have to bring a towel, a sunscreen, and a hat. Or when you want to make a quote, for example, the professor said the last test will be hard, but you can get through it. Two independent sentences. For example, he had only one goal, to win the soccer game. To make emphasis, there is a main problem, the lack of time. There are some exceptions of the uses of the column. The first one is columns are not used before a list that is introduced by a verb. For example, you need to bring the following items: pen, paper, and a notebook. This is incorrect because we have the verb follow. So the correct one will be you need to bring pen, paper, and notebook. The second one is columns are not used before a phrase that doesn't make sense, like it's on. For example, she had a thought in mind. Why not? We don't use the column before why not because it's a phrase that doesn't make sense. So we need to use a comma instead of the column.
Now that you have already learned about columns, it's time to practice. We can use column with one independent clause and one dependent clause. It is true or false. The correct answer is false. We use colon to make pauses, to end a paragraph, to add extra information, to introduce a list. And the correct answer is to introduce a list. Which sentence has the incorrect use of colon? To prepare pizza, we need flour, tomato sauce, cheese, and pepperoni. She kept repeating, I want the dress. I have to be at the airport at 1:03 p.m. He had only 1 hour to do, write an essay. And the correct answer is letter A. And that's all for today's video. Thank you for your attention and don't forget to like this video. Bye bye.